The U.S. has seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. Confirmation coming from President Trump just moments ago.
And this also comes as the president has ordered a huge military buildup in the region and has launched strikes for months now on alleged drug boats. We're joined now by the former Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall, and we're learning details obviously still at this point, but your initial reaction to learning of the seized oil tanker, what this means?
It seems to me to be an escalation of the level of pressure we're putting on Venezuela and on President Maduro. Quite frankly, I don't know where this is leading or what the overall intent is here. But this is a substantially bigger step to take than the ones we've taken before this.
To the point of trying to discern what the intent is, experts have pointed to energy as the linchpin of this nexus of countries that are adversaries of the United States in the Western Hemisphere. Cuba, Nicaragua, obviously Venezuela. I wonder whether you think it also lends credence to the idea that the administration is specifically going after Maduro in part for his energy.
I think it's pretty clear that the intent here is ultimately to take him out of power, one way or the other. I don't know how far we're prepared to go in that direction. The force that we have in the Caribbean is not large enough to support an invasion, but it could support strikes. It's got a lot of air power, naval power, a relatively small marine force. Some special operations capability. So we could be doing airstrikes, which have been implied for some time. We could be doing something in support of a coup. That's possible. We could be doing raids. We could be targeting drug facilities and so on. I don't know. It's not at all clear what the actual intent is here. It may be some hope that Maduro will just realize that the game is up and leave the country. I think that may be wishful thinking, but that's a possibility.
Looking at previous U.S. involvement in the region or in situations like this, there are cautionary tales. What's on your mind as you're thinking about this?
There's a very long history of U.S. intervention in South America, which is not a very pretty story. I've seen some of that throughout my career, Panama at one time, Grenada. Again, I don't think the force we have in this case is large enough to do an attack and seize control. Venezuela is a big country with a pretty good-sized military. But that said, I don't know where President Trump is going with this. He declared a no-fly zone, essentially, or closed airspace, which we have no power to enforce. So what he intends with that? Again, there's a lot of mystery about this, and I think it would be very helpful if the president were a little clearer about what he's actually trying to do here.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are hoping that the administration would be more clear on exactly what happened with that second strike on these apparent survivors of an initial strike, suspected drug traffickers. Initially, the president and Secretary Hegseth made statements saying that they were open to footage of that second strike being released to the public. They have since hedged on that. You've obviously been on the other side of oversight as Air Force Secretary. What reasons would you see for this video not being released to the public?
I cannot conceive of any reason not to release the video, other than that they don't like what's on it and don't want people to see it. We've had various stories about this ever since it came out. It's been shown to some people on Capitol Hill, and we've got dramatically different interpretations of what those people saw. So let's all see it. I don't know of anything that could be classified that would prevent it being released. And if there was, that sort of thing could be removed somehow. We really need to see what happened so we can judge for ourselves what happened here. It's also really important, I think, to remember that it's not just these strikes on these two survivors. It's all of these strikes. They're all illegal. There is no war with the drug dealers. The president's unilaterally decided that he wants to have a war with them and start killing people. Congress declares war, not the president. So we really need to put this in context of all the operations that are going on here and try to hold the administration accountable for what it's doing. I can go on and on about this, but the effectiveness of this seems to be very little. The targets that we're attacking are taking cocaine that's bound for Europe to other parts of the Caribbean. They are not taking fentanyl into the United States. So the whole rationale for this all falls apart. We've captured some people, but we didn't keep them and interrogate them or treat them as prisoners of war. We sent them back to their home countries. It all falls apart when you start to look at the details behind what we're doing here.
There are two sources with direct knowledge who told CNN that Admiral Mitch Bradley told lawmakers last week he'd consulted with the uniformed lawyer on duty during the operation before he approved that secondary strike that killed survivors. The sources adding the JAG officer assessed it would be legal to move forward with the second strike. To give context to our viewers, though, they need to understand that as Secretary Hegseth came into the Pentagon, he essentially eviscerated the top JAGs, the top legal officers, and he changed the system. The entire sort of operation of that JAG Corps is very much under fire right now. So hearing that, learning that information, how do you see that considering the broader context?
I've heard about this. I'm very concerned about this. Every time we do a strike, where there's a chance to look at it carefully and decide what to do, judge advocate officers are providing an opinion on whether it's a legal strike or not. When Secretary Hegseth fired the 3 top lawyers for the military departments on basically his first act, I was very concerned. And what he has said, he said this in the Oval Office, is that he wants maximum lethality, not tepid legality. Those are his words. And you're seeing it play out in the killing of these people.
It's a major escalation between the United States and Venezuela, it seems. Donald Trump says US forces have seized an oil tanker off the Venezuelan coast. CNN's Kevin Liptak joining me. What does this mean, Kevin?
Yeah, it's not precisely clear what the president's goals were in seizing this tanker. He didn't expand on that. In the Roosevelt Room where he's speaking just now, he said that it was the largest tanker ever seized and that there could be more action to come. But certainly it is an escalation on this pressure campaign that the Trump administration is mounting on Venezuela. The administration had been reluctant so far to target the country's oil industry, its oil sector. Most of those tankers are shipping oil to China. But clearly the president touting this action as a major step forward as he increases the pressure on Nicolas Maduro. Now, the president has said as recently as this week that he could be launching airstrikes on that country. He hasn't said when that might happen. So far, the administration's strategy had been to go after those drug boats, those alleged drug boats in the Caribbean Sea. That's caused so much consternation in Congress, questioning the legal rationale there, questioning at least that one particular strike, that so-called double tax strike that some have said could amount to war crimes. And so we'll see what more the president has to say about this seizure of the tanker, but certainly a major development as the president's approach to Venezuela gains more scrutiny in Washington, but also seems to be increasing in speed as the hope seems to be that Maduro will either step down or that the administration provides some off-ramp for him going forward, Max.
In terms of the tension we've got here, this is obviously separate. He was targeting drug boats, right, in the drug industry, if we can call it that. And now he's targeting commercial industry, or would this be classified as targeting the authorities somehow in the country?
Well, certainly those two are intertwined in some ways, and the administration has not expanded on why they have targeted this particular tanker. But you're right, it does expand what the administration is doing in the region. You know, so far, the president's official objective when it comes to Venezuela is to stop the flow of drugs. He has said fentanyl is not actually produced in Venezuela, but other drugs coming to the United States. That has been sort of the official line when you talk to the White House about why they're pursuing these objectives in the Caribbean Sea. But obviously seizing a tanker would go well beyond that. And the president, I think, is highly attuned to Venezuela's oil reserves. They're the largest in the world, and that is something that has been on his mind as he is pursuing this strategy in that country. And we learned just yesterday that the administration was developing some day after plans should Maduro step down. And so you can see how the president and his advisors are sort of aligning on a strategy here that could potentially include the country's energy sector. And so where this proceeds going forward and what the response, I think very critically from Caracas will be, I think is something to watch going forward. Obviously, American energy firms, namely Chevron, have major interests in Venezuela, and they have been sort of straddling the president's strategy here, trying to encourage some sort of resolution that doesn't include all-out war. And so how this proceeds and how those American companies react, I think, another thing to watch.